Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, and I want to start by wishing everyone a very, very happy new year, and to start by telling you how much I appreciate you. I appreciate my audience. I appreciate all the beautiful acknowledgments that I and the team received for our efforts to heal human disconnect. Thank you so much for the beautiful emails and cards and well wishes. Very, very much appreciated. And tonight I'm going to talk about setting your consciousness and mind mapping 2020. Before I jump into the subject, I want everyone to know that the Mindmap video series is still at a discount of $95 through January 5th. And you can upgrade that for another $97 to talk to one of our wonderful staff members, life coaches. And this is a very, very great deal because it is a way for you to do some of the healing on your own. And for those who are on a tight budget, especially after the holiday, I think it's a remarkable way for you to go from the wounds of the past through dismantling them and then shifting yourself into health through the help of a do-it-yourself video along with any level of service that you want to incorporate into this. So going back to the topic, mind mapping your way to a better 2020 and a better part 2 of your life, and setting your consciousness. I want to start by reading a little bit from my book. Here's the book, and it is available for free in PDF form. So grab your copy, and if you don't know how to download it, just email us, and we will be happy to do so. And remember, everybody, this is a call-in show, and the number to call in at has changed, and I want to read it out to you so that you could be aware. It is 323-524-2591. That is 323-524-2591. And pardon me? 99. Oh, 99. Sorry. 323-524-2599. Let me correct that over here. And I want to hear from you. And mainly, we're going to be talking about setting your intentions for 2020. I'm not talking about setting your goals. I'm talking about setting your intentions because goals easily fail. Intentions is what drives the why. Why are we doing this? What is our intention behind? And here is a chapter in my book, first chapter, Setting Your Consciousness. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, understood that behind anything that exists, there is consciousness. It is the organizational concept behind all thoughts, actions, and even the material world as we experience it. He said, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. And I'm suggesting that we can get behind our results by setting our consciousness. And control of consciousness determines the quality of life. And that's a quote by Mihai. I should be able to pronounce it because I'm Hungarian, but this is a really long name. Csikszentmihalyi. So that's the best I could do on that one. So let's define a little bit more about what is this thing called consciousness. First of all, I want to say that consciousness is a slippery slope because you might have an intention or consciousness to be loving. And before you know it, boom, now you're in envy, now you're in anger, now you're in resentment. What happened to the consciousness? Well, it's easy to become reactive, and we're going to mind map all this so that you can understand how to have a better flow through life and create a life that is not based on childhood wounds and negative core beliefs and faulty patterns and faulty thinking and horrible unconscious material that rules you. And we have to clean all that stuff out for preparing the slate for a clean slate consciousness where you can then recreate or create from a place of being the cause. So here's an article by Jess Carlson, and he talks about intention is everything. So he says we have a really bad habit as busy people to forget things with intention and purpose. We go about our day in a routine sort of way, often doing things the same way every day because it's just habit. That's how we do it. So I know we have a call-in here, and so I just ask all the call-ins to please remain on topic. And this episode, this YouTube segment is about consciousness as being causal, intention as being causal. So hello, you are on the couch, and what is your name, please?
Julie.
Hi, Julie. Nice to meet you. Where are you from?
I am from Colorado.
Okay.
I'm in Aurora.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling in, and tell me a little bit about how you relate to the topic, and go ahead and ask away.
Well, I'm going through the Mindmap, and I'm trying to go through my conscious. It's about your show is about consciousness coming out, correct?
Your intention.
About realizing your truth?
Yeah, realizing your intention. Like, my intention is blah, 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 blah. And it's a powerful driving force of an intention rather than my goal is to lose weight or my goal is to exercise. What is the intention?
To become mentally healthy.
Okay.
And to not react and to project all my garbage that was projected onto me as a child.
Okay.
And not to do that to my own children.
Okay, that's beautiful. So your intention is to come from a place of clarity, right? Remember, I talk about 2020 vision for 2020. I did an episode on that at the end of the year, and I want to refer to that again, and it's up there so you can view it. And 2020 means that we're not projecting, we are not distorting, right? We are not acting out of our reactions. We are not recreating the WTF, as I like to call it, the what the Freud, which is the same old patterns that your parents taught you and their parents taught them, and the multi-generational trickle down. So your intention is to break this cycle, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, that's why I'm reading your book and going through the phases.
Okay, that's
and
so
trying to
cool.
really be healthier.
Okay, and why did you decide? You know, a lot of people just say, forget it, I'm just going to live this way, and why should I bother? And there are a lot of people out there that don't really want to bother to do the work. And so what incentivized you to do something and to start learning and to start getting conscious and taking responsibility and ownership of your own stuff, so to speak?
Well, I think that the biggest one was me just wanting to be a better mother.
Okay.
But I think the shock wave that I got that like woke me up was my father that was murdered. And that like just, it was like earthquake. And it made me really look at my family for what it was.
When did this happen?
About 3 years ago.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
He was, it was really shocking. I mean, he is an alcoholic and he was driving around drunk, and they got pulled over, and somehow, some way, he got shot in the face. And I mean, it's pretty dramatic. And my family came to me and told me, and I, of course, drove to Vegas because that's where they were, and I went to be there for them, and they ended up turning it all around on me and making me the scapegoat and punishing me and blaming me and shaming me for no real reason, just because they were in pain. And it made me wake up.
So you saw that?
I don't deserve this.
You definitely not. But you were able to see that they were you were actually conscious of the process, that they were doing this to project their pain onto you so that they can somehow try to alleviate their own?
I don't think I really got that until I started really going into videos and realizing and seeing the patterns and going, oh my God, this is why they lied and said I stole from them and I did this and I was drunk and intoxicated, which I wasn't the whole time, which other families saw and confirmed. And for so long, I had been forced to believe that it was always my reactions. It was always me. I was always the trigger. I was always the person that was to blame. And then my husband saw it. And when I had that witness,
Yes.
he just, oh my God, Julie, you were right. Your family's totally crazy.
So you're
It
so
was like,
lucky that
wow.
you had your husband as a witness. I call it an enlightened witness, somebody that's outside of the system, seeing in and shining their clear 20/20 vision on what's going on, what the Freud is going on, and he saw it. And so there are also, you bring me to a concept that I wasn't going to talk about, but you bring it to my consciousness, which is unconscious intentions. And these are not to the surface. For example, your family had an intention of cleaning and clearing their pain. Did they not? They didn't want to sit with it.
Yes.
Right? So they had an intention. They somewhere in there there was a process that went, this is very, very painful. I don't want to carry it. Well, Julie's here. That's great. I could just guilt her and shame her and blame her, project all of this onto her, and then kind of clean it and walk away and for a moment feel better. It's just that those kind of intentions are not sustainable because the feeling is going to come back. The guilt and the shame and whatever it is that they're living with is going to come back, and then they're going to need to find somebody new to project it on, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Or fill their hole in the soul with, I like to call it generically, drugs, sex, and rock and roll, so they don't feel the feelings, or a combination of both.
Or shopping.
Or shopping.
My mom, she shops it away.
Okay. All right. So we have a lot of mechanisms. So in order for us to set intentions for this year, we've got to get behind the 8 ball. We can't just say, my intention is to lose weight. My intention is this. We've got to go back to point 1. And I'm going to mind map this so that you can see, and then you can jump in with further questions. So if you put the mind map up, you'll be able to see panel 1, childhood wounds. And what are these childhood wounds? I concentrate on the big 5, which is physical abuse, emotional verbal abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, emotional neglect, abandonment, and smothering, okay? So if we don't clean the wounds, then we can't have clear intentions. Then we're going to have unconscious, sick intentions that are going to create reactions, poor encoding, and then eventually break down into chaos, defenses, and then the whole system will go down the drain, and there's going to be the big breakdown, which is panel 6. Okay, so how do we even start to grab a hold of what our intentions are is we have to go to point 1, panel 1, wounds of childhood, and start cleaning that out. Because you know what happens if they're not cleaned out. You know, Julie, pop quiz to you.
You
what
project
happens?
it all.
You project it all, correct. And then instead of being clear-sighted and 20/20 vision, you have reactions. And so I want to be very clear on what I mean by the WTF. It's kind of like a psychological formula. And the best analogy I can come up with is something like, let's say I step on your toes, right? Okay? So I step on your toes, and instead of going, ouch, you just punch me in the nose. Okay? So is that within the bell curve norm of reaction?
No.
No. Okay? Unless you have like a bunion there or something, or a bad nerve there, okay, it doesn't warrant that kind of reaction. So the psychological formula is that the difference between a bell curve normal reaction to an event, and the actual reaction to the event is the difference is the WTF. Okay, so if you don't have any issues there, then you'll just say, ow, that hurt. And then I could say, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I could do to, to help you with the pain? And usually it'll be, no, don't worry about it. It'll dial down. Now, if you have a what the Freud going on, then it might look like your reaction to the wound, which maybe, let's say your mother, I'm making it up, of course, let's say your mother and your father punished you by physical abuse, okay? And then part of it had to do with your feet. And so then I step on that wound, literally, okay? So now it's not just me stepping on your toes, it's me stepping on your childhood wounds, which will up the reaction, correct?
Yes.
So instead
absolutely.
of having a regular, oh, I'm so sorry that hurt, now it's like, WTF, what did you do that for? Boom. Okay, and then it triggers off the encoding, which is, oh, I see. You don't think I'm important, right? You could just step all over me, correct? You think I'm a nothing. You see how this thing goes like a psychovirus. It's just boom, boom, boom. And now what do we have? Chaos, defenses and breakdowns. So that's why we have to dysfunction. So that's why we have to dial it all the way back to the cause. It's not good enough to treat the symptoms. It's not good enough to behaviorally change. It's not good enough to put a bunch of affirmations on the wall and say, no, I am worth it. I'm a good person. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you got to break it down.
You've got to break it all
down. You never know why. You can't heal it.
Correct.
And I feel like there's been so many blank spots. And only till recently has my childhood been coming back to me in waves. Like, oh my goodness, this is why I get mad at my kid, because they're not listening to me, because they never felt heard.
Right.
And I'm trying to work through those things so I don't just pass it along, because I can't do that to them. So, I got to be healthier. And I just heard one of your specials about parents trying to really see the things that they've done, and I'm trying to really see and own it.
That
you got to own it.
The most powerful. You heard that episode, Parents Own Your Own Stuff? I was shocked.
Literally like an hour ago.
Okay, well, I was shocked at the conversation that took place. And for those of you who haven't heard it, please listen. And the woman who called in, unfortunately, her son committed horrible. Okay, I won't give away but let's just say a horrible thing happened to her son, and now she was seeing, hindsight is, what do they say, 20/20 hindsight, and she's begging mothers, please own your own stuff. And what I mean by that is, if you know that you messed up with your children, it's a conversation. And pull up the Peaceful Healing Dialogue. It's there on my website. You can go to my website, the shortcut way, drjudywtf.com. The long way, you don't want to do it this way, psychologicalhealingcenter.com. Too long. So you could pull it up and just grab that Peaceful Healing Dialogue and say to your children something like, look, I want to talk to you, and I'm beginning to learn and understand, and I want you to know that I know, and that I'm getting more clear-sighted, and I'm getting more 20/20 for 2020. And what my intention is in this conversation, remember, intention is to own my own stuff so that I can free you of any blame or shame or negative core beliefs that I may have instilled in you. And then you can talk to them, and you can tell them the multi-generational, right? Because that'll unfold the story that you learned this, and then you taught them this, and you didn't realize it, and now you're having a aha experience, and you wanted them to know.
I'm really lucky. My kids are still so young, so I feel like I'm already starting that peaceful dialogue with them.
Yeah.
And my daughter, she's so smart, and she gets it. She's just like, oh, yeah. And if I had, she is such a fragile soul, she would just be shaming and blaming herself just the way I did. And I just, no, honey, you don't need to blame yourself.
Right.
Those are your feelings, and that's okay to feel that way, but it's not your fault. And I try
Yes.
to work through it because I was gaslit so much. I didn't know what was up and what was down. So I can't do that to my kid. I got to make sure that I'm as honest as I possibly can be with them
Well,
because that's so important.
they're very lucky, and I'm going to break this down, and I'm going to make available mind map perspective from a child's point of view, which I did with my grandson Alexander, and he was about 3.5 years old at the time, and he's now 7, and he really got the mind map even then, and much more detailed now. And he said, "Grandma, panel 1 is the boo boo." And panel 1 is where it hurts, and panel 3 is where what did he say about panel 3 is where you think you're bad. You think you're bad. And panel 4 is where everything goes crazy. Everyone goes crazy. And panel 5 is where you push each other away. This was his interpretation. I did not give him these words. He was looking
So
at the
cute.
pictures, and I was like, okay. And then panel 6 is where everybody's hurting each other and fighting. And then panel 7 is where we all get along. And then panel 8 is where it's teamwork. And then panel 9 is peace. He says, "I love peace." So I have to, I think I'm going to play that video on in public. It's just such a cool video. And so show your kid, everybody out there, show your kids a mind map. It's intuitive, and they can speak through it,
Yep.
and they can even point to and say, "Mommy, you hurt my feelings, and now I think I'm in panel 3. I think I'm a bad kid. And now, Mommy..."
Yes, my daughter has done that too, but she's never done the panel 3. So now I can use it as a reference.
Yeah.
That's a great tool.
It's such an easy tool, and it makes the conversation flow. And the intention of the mind map is, again, it's to pinpoint those wounds of childhood and how they shadow over us. And the intention is to break free of the prisons of the past so that you can recreate a better part 2 of your life. And that's my intention with this work. My intention is to create a pathway out of psychological prison, out of psychological hell for many people.
And also, I love the way that you grab onto the psyche of a person and then connect it to society and how we all intertwine together and how we need to heal ourselves before we can even start to heal the broken aspects of our society and
Yes.
the political systems and the things that have happened. I just love that because it's all intertwined. Intertwined.
Thank you.
It's genius,
and I really appreciate that. And the original intention of the mind map, do you know that the mind map was not even meant to be a psychological model? I was taking some classes in Kabbalah and reading spiritual works, and I decided to doodle a process of healing global disconnect, and I called it Join the Human Race, because I was getting sick and tired of our isms. Blackism, whiteism, Chineseism, Christianityism, Judaism, Muslimism, this is. I'm not saying give up your isms, but find a way to use your ism to enhance the human race, not to annihilate the human race. That was the message.
The tribalism. Yeah,
right.
Being so tribalistic.
Yes.
It's just pulled us apart as a society. We need to gather together and realize that we're all human beings, no matter what color or religion or any of that. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. And so my idealistic view was to create a movement, really. I wanted to create a movement called Join the Human Race. That. And before we are anything, black, white, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, anything, number one, we're a human being, and we have to become a humane being. And then we can use our religion and our culture to enhance and gift the human race with all of the wisdom and the beauty of our religion, culture, and so on and so forth. And that would be panel 7, which is why it's my logo. So I couldn't do that because I that would have been a Bill Gates kind of project, or Nunez, or one of those people. And if you're listening, please give me a call immediately, okay? I still want to launch that project. It's just that now I want to get this in the school system, and I want to get into the hands of people like yourself, so that you don't have to drag all this material into the next generation. Okay, so,
Absolutely.
right? And that's how we heal.
I think it's so key. Yes. And why is it not in our school system is bizarre to me. Like, those are the most important things, is to try to be able to connect with people on a healthy level and to have a healthy attachment. That's never even spoken of
Yep.
in medical or nothing, really. I mean, they just try to fix your symptoms and brush everything under the rug, and let's ignore it, and let's
Yes.
just deal with the surface. And that's why there's all this destruction and chaos with shootings, and I mean, it's just everywhere.
Absolutely. So the micro problems are growing macro, and I wanted to go from macro, but now I see that I needed to start on a micro, heal human disconnect, which will then trickle out to healing global disconnect. So if any one of you are educators and have influence in school system, contact me. I'm very serious about getting this into the school system. I think it will radically prevent. I'm very big on prevention. One of my favorite quotes in the book, Be the Cause Healing Human Disconnect, is a quote by Albert Einstein. And he says, smart people solve problems. Geniuses prevent them. So let's all be geniuses and prevent this from infiltrating into the next generation. And so, yes, if you're an influencer, teacher, educator, I do want to talk to you. I do want to get this out into the school system. It's not, I don't think it's that complicated. Maybe I've made it too complicated. Maybe it's just a matter of getting the book into the hands of the teachers and the principals, and getting the video into the hands of the teachers and principals, eventually parents and students. So,
and people healing their own wounds will hopefully express that everyone needs to heal.
That everyone
internally
needs to heal. Absolutely. Yep. So I know I have another caller. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you calling in and setting your intentions, setting your consciousness. And so your intention is to be able to connect the dots and teach your children and own your own stuff. I love it. Thank you so very much for calling in.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I appreciate your book, and I am almost done with it, and it is changing my life. So thank you so much.
Okay. Very appreciated. Okay. Good night. Okay. I think we have another caller. So hello, you are on the couch with Dr. Judy.
I really appreciate that. Is that me you're talking to this time?
I am. And what's your name, please?
Oh, I was somewhere between listening to you on the, trying to turn my computer down here.
Okay.
On YouTube, and then there was a conversation going on in the background as well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, what's your name?
My name's Emily.
Emily, nice to meet you. And I always like to ask people, where are you in the States or Canada or in the world? Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm the state of human existence, residing, and I'm in Wisconsin.
Okay. And so what drew you to this topic? And talk to me more about what your intentions are for yourself in 2020.
Well, my intention for myself is to continue to heal. I've been, I can't remember if it was on the phone or if it was on the computer, but talking about, getting down to the grassroots of what the problem is.
Yes.
And I was adopted as a baby.
Okay. How old? How old?
I was 1 month old.
Okay.
And they already had a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding, my adoption was kind of like in the fly. Like, they got a phone call in the afternoon and boom, I was there. Mm-hmm. My parents were 38, Wisconsin's adoption laws. My dad was 38. My mom was turning 38 August 6th. They got me July 22nd. Mm-hmm. So they pretty much didn't expect to be getting a second kid.
Yeah.
And I would be basically in my 54th year of being the narcissistic scapegoat, to the point where literally I didn't want that title. Because when I was 37, this psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't remember which, put a whole bunch of shingles over my head, that I had been molested and I had been raped. And I knew all that, neglected, abused, all that stuff.
Okay.
But I didn't need titles because I was coping with it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand with it, but it kind of put me in a tailspin of just like not understanding how to understand.
But wait,
and
wait, back up for a minute. Were you telling him that you had been sexually molested and abused? Were you telling him this?
well, it was a female. No, I was molested as a young child. In preschool, I was able to describe the place to my mom, and she verified that it was a church where I was at preschool. Because I remember being consciously aware of male penis or male genitalia.
Yeah.
Being at the end of a hallway, being about the height of a man's waistline, and kneeling on a chair looking out a window. I mean, and that's kind of all my. I have really no sexual hang-ups. I was raped at 12. I had a whole bunch of different things. And I was also abused by my mom. And I finally gave myself the credit for this because I thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't have all the crazy rape issues. And I was like, I've always recognized the victims victimizing me.
You did. So somewhere in there, you didn't buy in that you were dirty and you were to blame, and somewhere in there you didn't buy in.
But it didn't feel. But I tried really hard to be the dysfunctional, like I wasn't following the normal psychological path of, so I felt like I was, like I was not applying myself well enough, which is what I was told all through school. But I stumbled on something really interesting, which has taken me to a whole new level. I experienced a head injury in May of 2015 by my own accord. I had to take a cab home after being out drinking, and I got my flip-flop hooked on a step in May and fell backwards and totally split my head and woke up in CSI Sheboygan and went, oh my God. And then I got involved in a relationship where it was supposed to just be a roommate. We kind of ended up being FWBs, but he started getting really controlling and immediately said that he'd kill me if I called the police after he got kind of rough with me. I never doubted it. I knew that a restraining order wasn't going to do it. I knew I was right where God wanted me. I knew I wasn't going to die, so to speak, or if I was, I was okay with it. I don't know. I was there for a purpose. What it turned out to be, it started, September, that was May, September, October, November. By November, I was being, we stomped on my head with steel-toed boots, and strangled me.
That's pretty brutal. So with everything that's happened to you, and obviously you started researching, how do I heal? How do I heal? How do I heal? And so what?
I'm solid with that.
Pardon me?
My problem is just to give you a little bit more. I mean, I went from that to literally the last time he abused me, my grandson, and I was thinking about this when you were talking about your grandson doing all the different columns of feelings. That is exactly what I suggested to my daughter to do when my grandson was having issues, and he witnessed me being picked up off the floor by my neck and then being man-punched in the face. And I saw that little man just stand up straight, and his body got stiff as a board, and just shortly after that, he started wetting the bed at night. I mean,
okay,
bad.
So now you're seeing that if we don't clean up, if we don't clean it up, right, it's going to keep going and going. So tell me a little bit. You've been through an awful lot of pain and abuse, and even
I mean,
more so. The adoption. Yeah.
So go ahead. I'll let you talk.
No, I'm just also bringing up the point that for 1 month you were not, either you were bonding to your biological mother or in some kind of foster. Do you know which it was?
I'm not. I was. I actually know my biological mother, and she kind of put some things kind of into, like a pattern, just like an oscillating thought in my head that at first I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of neat. But then it started soaking in, and I started realizing, do you, I apologize for not knowing better, but do you do a lot of different things with spirituality?
Do I mean, it just depends. It depends on the orientation of the person, because this is a psycho-spiritual model. At the heart of the mind map is a psycho-spiritual model.
Right. And see, I'm totally 100% God. I'm all God, 100%. And to the point, literally after, in the middle of a illegal eviction, where the trespasser in my house, 911 hung up on me, and the police aided the guy.
So look, go back. Let's go back, because I know we've got very limited time, and I want to clarify. So you've been through all of this. You may have bonded with your biological mother. You did not even have the first few weeks of life opportunity to connect. You see, it's all predicated on mother-infant disconnect. And so there is the problem. Mother-infant disconnect reverberating into going into a home where you were not protected, and you worse than not protected. You were abused. You were raped. You fell. There was so much. So now that you are starting to become conscious of healing, tell me what your what is your intention? Because
when I got sidetracked and taken off course for working on my master's in forensic psychology, I was going to do that, neuro-linguistic programming, and handwriting analysis, and phrenology. And
okay, so I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I get accused of interrupting, and I'm not meaning to. My intention is so that we could stay on the intention. So all of these things are happening.
I have cognitive. I have TBI. So I have a starting point, and I get to it. It's just my processing. I try to go. I have a hard time following. Cognitively.
Okay, so how about
basically I just started telling you that because I ended up recognizing my PTSD in a situation where I was confronted by a police officer and freaked because I'm scared to death of him.
Okay.
And I triggered his PTSD, where the whole report was basically he was in fight and flight mode because I was threatening to him because I said, "You have a gun on your hip. You can't serve God and man. You can kill with that, and you scare me." And basically that got me in handcuffs for my first arrest ever, and 72 hours in jail before I ever got in front of a judge.
Okay,
and
so look, this is a lot of chaos, a lot of breakdown. Okay, so maybe let's just clarify that. Number one, you're not the cause of part one of your life, correct? And
the part I don't have a big grasp on is what just happened within the last 2 weeks, and it had to do with the death of my father.
Okay.
As a result of that arrest, and just ongoing bullying with the police for the last 2.5 years, they put my dad in a position where they shoved me in jail the day that he got out of the hospital. To the point, then they put me into a 72-hour hold in a psych ward that ended up lasting 6 days.
Okay.
And
so Emily, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop you because this is like a session or 20 sessions worth. Okay. And there's so much. It's okay. It's okay.
I just try to get innocence until proven guilty so that people understand, especially when there's trauma involved. I want to,
Emily, I'm gonna move on because there are a lot of people calling. But this is what I'd like you to do. I want to invite you to call the Psychological Healing Center because there's so much damage that you're describing to me, and my intention with you is for you to start organizing this damage, go to the cause so that you could start healing. So there's just so much.
Yeah, I got all that.
Okay.
My big thing is trying to figure out how to go to the government to allow people to remain a suspect.
Okay,
and not to be put extra psychological trauma on them.
I just have to move on because I do have another caller. I'm going to stick with intention, and do reach out to us, and I'm going to try to get you some help to clean up all the mess so you have better part two in your life. Okay.
I mean, out in my pocket on that. It's dealing with people that I have a problem with.
Okay, so
I just have a hard time wanting to listen to me.
Reach out to us, and we'll see what we could do there. Okay, and in the meantime, thank you so much for calling in. And I do understand there's been so much that it's just very chaotic now. Okay.
I mean, I don't think that I have a good understanding.
I'm gonna move on. So call us, okay, and we can continue off air. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Emily. Okay, you are on the couch with Dr. Judy, and who is this calling, please?
Hello.
Hi. And what is your name, please?
Hi. My name is Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Michigan,
Okay.
and I'm up north currently right now.
Okay.
Well, I've caused about intentions. I used to talk to Yits. I did counseling with Yits.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I talked to you before. I had a mother who passed away a little more than a year ago. She
I'm
was
sorry.
a narcissist. She
Okay.
tried to cut me from her will.
Okay.
And I was molested by my stepfather, and she tried to hide the truth of the whole story of the family dynamics through
Okay.
her cutting people loose and getting rid of people.
Okay.
So with that said, I worked through a lot of trauma from my mother's abuse in the original wound
Yes.
of abandonment wounds,
Yes.
which I know I have CPTSD now, and I know I have these wounds of all 5 of the wounds.
So just
I
to
have them all.
clarify to the audience, CPTSD is complex PTSD. It's PTSD for when you were either pre-verbal or unconscious or just traumatized before you can understand what went down. PTSD
Over time,
over
many
time
abuses.
and unprocessed. It's
And
unprocessed.
I was gaslit as a 11 years when the sexual abuse was revealed,
Okay.
and I was blamed for it and asked if I liked it. So
Really? Wow.
with that is a huge wound from my mother. That was
Yeah.
to brainwash me and to manipulate me into the narrative.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I was 11, and then my inside child, my inner child, was screaming outward, but I could not verbalize to my mother. But I shrunk and I said, "No, this is not my intention."
Yes. You mean your intention
Right.
was not to
was not
to get smaller
right.
and to shut down? Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Right. Okay.
And I went through these processes as a young child. That's where suicidal ideation came into play as a young kid. But then as I got 17, I stood up to my mother and I ran away from home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very independent and I could take care of myself.
Okay.
If something occurred, I would take care of it. Now I would have the inner blame and shame where I felt I was the cause of this, that I was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go back. Okay, so I would be the boomerang,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would accept my role in it. I would take it, and all would be good. Because as long as my mother could say, "You hurt me when you left," and she just dramatized me.
So
about
Rose,
her.
this was the old system. You were stuck in there, and so your mother's intention,
yes, the program,
right?
So and the program was, but see, there was this inner fighter in me that said no, because when I was very, very young and the abuse was starting, maybe I was like 6, 7. In the early years of it, I was wanting someone to see me, rescue me, take me out of that.
So
I
your
knew
wish,
the difference between right and wrong.
Okay, your wish.
And so I had a spirit. And my soul was saying, you want better than this. You expect better than this. This is not what love is.
Okay.
Right? This is not what love is.
Okay.
So, relationships-wise, as I was an adult, I worked hard. And relationships-wise, if something didn't feel right, I was out.
So let me clarify what my understanding is.
If they didn't work out, I would, I would be okay.
So
independently.
I'm hearing here that your intention is for you to have your own mind. Your intention is for you to have your freedom. Your intention is for you essentially to be the cause. You're not going to stand, you as children we're in a hostage situation, so we don't get a choice. But as you found your no, your intention was
Clarity.
to find that boundary and not march to the old tune of the system. So when you found your no and your
Yes.
clarity, that's where things opened
Yes.
up for you. And that's what I mean by being the cause. See, being the cause is
Yes.
the opposite of being at
I
the
was.
effect. Understood?
Yep. I worked. Yes, exactly. I worked through with kids all the way through to talking about my marriage late August, and I was in despair because I've been through this problem with my husband for the whole entire marriage. But
Okay.
it come to a boil, and you guys said that we had to work through to these wounds.
Yes, because
And
as you now
I
know,
needed
right?
clarity on my relationship first, and I also needed to shed my truth light.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hard. It has been very hard.
Okay.
But my husband has wounds that he cannot address, and it's been 3.5 years of me saying, "You're going to look at this."
It's a tough one because see,
So I get dysregulated when I'm trying to. So I guess my intention for this year is going to be I'm no longer going to manage anyone else.
Beautiful.
I mean,
beautiful. Right. So your intention.
And my daughter told me today. She goes, "Mom, you're stronger than you think. You can do this. You can break free from this.
Okay.
He's not going to change."
So you're not going to manage anybody else's emotions but your own. And I also want to acknowledge that oftentimes people will come to the Psychological Healing Center and they'll come as a couple, and one may not want to do the work, or most of the time, one will come and the other won't. And I always warn people. And this goes back to intention. My intention is not here to create a divorce or separation or breakup.
No, but I tried to fix it with all of this by myself and pointing it out.
Yes.
And the narcissism part of him, the defensive mechanism, said, "No, I don't want to hear your psychobabble BS. I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about the past, and we want to move forward." In the meantime, he's wanting to love bomb. He wants to manipulate.
So you can't move on. You can't just have a psychological dump, so to speak, and pretend that it doesn't stink and move on. Okay, so here's the thing that I wanted to say is with couples therapy or even with individual therapy, sometimes one will grow, one will own their own stuff, and the other one won't. And it does. Let's be real here. It can and does create a rift between the two people. And
well, Dr. Judy, I lost my agency and my self-esteem and my self-worth on my wedding night.
Yeah.
With my mother-in-law as behind the helm.
But I also hear your soul. As you said, my soul won't let me.
I want her to come back. I want her to come back. I want her back.
Who do you want back?
My light, my soul. I want her to come back
because
she's been told for almost 30 years that your feelings don't matter. You don't have this value. I've been disrespected, disregarded.
So
I'm off for the entire relationship because I went from being codependent to my marriage and accepted verbal abuse to a large degree that I couldn't define it to yet. I couldn't even get there until I got through with my mother's stuff.
Okay.
And I came full circle with my mother through the Mindmap, and I'm not mad at her anymore. I'm not angry. I'm sitting in her house, and I'm not angry at all the past because I was able to identify the wounds.
So, Emily, now that you know all this and you've done so much work, I think I'm picking up a pretty clear intention, is that your intention is that you want to be supportive of yourself, your soul, you want to
Yes,
be able to be in
but I
touch.
want to be around people that emotionally support me, because when I'm told by my spouse that I can't always be your rock, that's not the kind of rescuing. I'm looking for a different kind of rescuing than he's thinking. He's just not. He's not there, and I grew, and I
Okay,
woke up.
so
And
just to go through what you just said, your husband might be saying, I don't know what exactly he's saying because I don't know him, but if he's saying I can't always be your rock, there may be a truth to that he can't always be there. He may be sometimes or most of the time, and so I think part of mental health is also to have more of a shades of gray thinking, not just black and
sure,
white.
correct.
Okay, right?
Correct. And there are some wounds from his mother, because on Christmas Eve, she wounded my grandson, but not directly because he's oblivious to it. But I corrected her, and the first time in many years that I stuck my neck up to my mother-in-law and was not afraid. Because,
what were the results? Tell me the results.
I didn't hurt over an ache. I felt like a grown-up, that I took care of her bad manners.
Okay. So you said something.
I really took care of it,
something
because I kind of just like on her level with Grace, and I said, you know what, my grandson is not dumb. He's 2. and I didn't shrink.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a backbone, and your intention is to self-express and to keep yourself in integrity and
without imploding and crying and feeling like I'm never going to win the love and the respect of this nasty woman.
Okay, so I want to just address one thing, and then I'll go to the last part of the show because I know we're running short on time. So what I want to say to you is that it is important who we hang out with. I'm saying this to everyone. It matters who our team is. And if we have team members that pull us down, if we have team members that demean, devalue, and destroy, then we need to reconsider who we have on our team. And if we're married to people that are not good teammates, then we have to do the best that we can to have that peaceful healing dialogue with the person and just say, look, I don't, this is the way I like to put it. Don't drop the person, drop the problem. So you tell the person, look, I don't want to drop you, but these
4
problems.
months ago, I said it already. So I was very clear with my line. My lines are there. I'm drawing the boundaries. It's happening.
All right. So anyway, I thank you for calling in. I'm gonna start concluding the show because I know we're very, very short on time. And so
thank you, Dr. Judy.
You're welcome, and I'm so glad that you've done so much work. Yitz Epstein is our life coach. I think he's awesome. We're working on a project.
Yeah, and it finally clicked. It took a little bit, but it finally clicked. I got it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in. Okay, and I know that Yitz and you will probably be in touch. So let us know how you're doing. Okay.
All right. Thank you, honey.
Okay. You're very welcome. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, this year has been quite a remarkable year for many. It's extreme. I've had some real tragic reports from people in my practice, some very tragic reports, and then also the exhilarating feeling of helping people really break out of this psychological prison. And I just wanted to remind everybody that $95 Mindmap video series is chock full of information. I think it's the best bang for the buck because I personally go through the Mindmap every single panel I dissect, and it's about 8.5 or so hours worth of listening time, and it's an opportunity to learn. And then you can also watch the video with family members and discuss, and then download the Mindmap journal so that you can write in it. And so I just want to go in a moment to shrink that tune, but before I do so, I want to thank everyone for their kindness and for the great courage it takes to heal, and also to thank my beautiful staff for learning and growing and incorporating the mind map into the practice, and for being my personal agents of change and growth. I don't like the word change. I should use another word. My personal agents for healing and paradigm shifting. And remembering that you can get a free copy of the book. And one thing that everyone I know appreciates is if you like who you've been working with and what you've been learning, please do remember to like us on Facebook or review us on Yelp or Amazon, the book, which is out there in hard copy. You can order it from Amazon and get a free copy from us and just download it. Okay, so the last part of this segment is Shrink That Tune. So I want to go to a tune called, oh, wow, all these notes just lying around. Okay, let me see if I can pull it up. And it is called Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. Don't let me be misunderstood. It's an old song. The Animals. Baby, do you understand me now? Sometimes I feel a little mad, but don't you know that no one alive can always be an angel? When things go wrong, I feel real bad. So what is this natural inclination in us? It's to be understood. It's to be mirrored and to be attuned to. And we can't always be that much of an angel of perfectionistic listening and attunement, and we at least have to be in the game of wanting to be that person to give people attention and acknowledgement. I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. And I think when our intentions are clear, we're less likely to be misunderstood. Baby, sometimes I'm so carefree with a joy that's hard to hide, and sometimes it seems that all I have to do is worry, and then you're bound to see my other side. So rather than going up and down and like an elevator ride and being dysregulated, I think that if you come from the intention of clarity and communication, okay? I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be understood. So I'm saying, spell it out. Be clear. Own your own stuff. And don't forget this year always to self-reflect and self-correct, because that is the pathway to healing. So I want to wish everyone a very, very happy, clear-sighted 2020 vision for 2020. Thank you so much for joining in. Good night, everybody.